Joining us right now is New York Congressman Lee Zeldin. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining the conversation this morning.
Great to see you.
Your thoughts on this deal?
Not thrilled with it. I'm always going to be as honest with you as possible, Maria. Having bipartisanship is great. It's important. We can have better legislative solutions when we work together and share ideas with each other. For congressional Democrats, I believe that we just created a new leverage point for them before the end of this year. The House is going to pass tax reform. We'll get it done over the course of the next month or two. We're still on schedule. I can't speak for the Senate Republicans and the Senate chamber as far as what their timeline is, but they really need to get this done before the end of the year. That's a must. So for the president, I think he had more votes on the other side of the aisle than he may have realized. I just didn't see congressional Democrats tanking a bill that pretty much had just the debt limit increasing and taking care of Hurricane Harvey recipients. The president can still, working with Congress, Republicans and Democrats, negotiate a great deal before the end of this year. So I don't want to, by any means, when I say that I'm disappointed by this deal, I wouldn't want to put it past this president working with Congress to be able to get a great deal done in December. I just believe it's a little bit easier to do more now than what we'll try to achieve then. And quite frankly, we just created a leverage point for Democrats in December that didn't exist before.
That's right. Congressman, and you know what? We really appreciate your candor and your honesty. Thank you. That's why you are where you are. What is that leverage point? So in other words, is this going to threaten getting tax reform done by the end of the year? I mean, the Democrats may say, look, we're not going to cut taxes by 1 penny for the highest earners. Is that what we're talking about here?
Well, the good news is through budget reconciliation, Senate Republicans are able to pass tax reform with 51 votes. I feel like it's deja vu because we had this discussion with regards to health care, and they weren't able to get to 51 votes. But it does not have to slow down one bit tax reform. Now, the president has been working on some Senate Democrats. That's great if he's able to bring some of them over, especially those who are desperate to work with him because they're up for re-election and they have a popular president in their home state who they don't want to be looked at as being obstructionists entirely. So it should get done before the end of this year. It's definitely going to get done in the House. Hopefully it gets done in the Senate as well.
Congressman, what is the conversation within the Republican caucus? Because you have, again, a group of Republicans that simply refuse to negotiate. They wanted a debt ceiling increase coupled with some just incredibly unrealistic expectations in terms of entitlement reform. Is there any recrimination there? Does Paul Ryan have any leverage over these guys like Mark Meadows? I mean, what are you hearing when you're in the party room?
Well, we have managed to raise the debt limit being in the majority every time it has come up. The fact is we really do need to, when these debt limit increases and these votes come up, look at ways to be able to bend the cost curve. We have a trajectory. My daughter's just started middle school a few days ago. They're turning 11 this month. And for us to just continually punt these tough decisions to future Congresses, future presidents, it's just kicking the can down for that next generation.
That's terrible politics. You could have passed the debt ceiling increase, gotten it out of the way for 6 months, and then done real reform in a separate bill. I mean, that's the kind of language you hear from the Freedom Caucus. That's why we're in the mess that we're in today.
Well, I'm really confident that if we had a vote on a longer-term debt ceiling increase coupled with the Hurricane Harvey relief, that it would have passed, and it would have been Republicans and Democrats putting the bill over the top. One of the benefits of having a large, diverse House Republican conference, we actually have enough of a majority where we don't have to be unanimous. It's not the same as, you know, where the Senate Republicans have to get practically 51 out of 52 in order to pass health care and tax reform. So I don't think at the end of the day you're going to be able to get some of those Freedom Caucus guys to ever vote for the final package because they're asking for something that drops off too many Republicans on the other side. So I don't think that would have been possible.
Bob Nardelli?
Yeah, Congressman Bob Nardelli here. You know, I'm reminded of President Trump's action yesterday of the great Vince Lombardi when he used to tell the team, if not now, when? If not us, who? And so to Maria's point on taxes, You know, we hear that it'll be done by the end of the year, but is it 15% or 25% for corporate? What are we going to do, especially for the small businesses? I mean, if you think you're going to get something done, share with us your candor. What are some of the elements that you're prepared to put forward?
Well, I would fully support 15%. I agree that we should be simplifying our tax code, that we should be reducing the tax brackets from 7 to 3. There are a whole lot of other components of this debate that get in the weeds on more specific components of the tax code. We have people left and right who are upset when we see jobs and American companies and American liquidity go overseas. We have to be more honest with each other of why that money left in the first place. And it's because we have to have a more competitive tax code. I support 15%. I don't know if at the end of the day we end up at 15% or 20%. I don't know what that final number is, but it would be a huge improvement over our current federal tax rate of 35%. We need to become more competitive from that regards, but we also have to allow hardworking, blue-collar, middle-income Americans to see that tax relief directly to them and their families, and that's going to be an important component of this as well. And being able to simplify the tax code to the point where, as we've heard from others, and it's so true, being able to fill out your tax return on a form as simple as a postcard would be great, and I think a lot of Americans appreciate that and want that as well.
Yeah. It sounds great, but can you get it done?
Yeah, Congressman, this is Mike Huckabee. A quick question. I know the Republicans were frustrated with the president for making a deal with the Democrats, but does the Republican Congress understand how utterly frustrated the American public, especially 53 million Trump voters, are with Congress for having a 0 record after 8 months with the House, the Senate, and the White House? Do they fully understand how exasperated Republicans are with Republican leadership in Congress?
Oh, I'm exasperated as a member of Congress. I just got to Congress January of 2015, and what is an interesting moment in time is that at no point since January of 2015 have we on the House side, the Republicans, been more confident, optimistic that we could pass whatever it is we want to and need to pass. And at the same time, since January of 2015, I don't know of a moment where we've had a lower confidence that these big-ticket items are able to pass in the Senate. That the House has passed hundreds of bills. We just need our friends on the other side of the aisle to, on the other side of the Capitol here, to get their work done, and then the American people would be happier.
Well, it's the Senate, but isn't it also Freedom Caucus?
Well, no, we've passed hundreds of bills this year. The Senate has passed dozens of those bills. A lot of people, I've been on some other channels where I've talked about the dozens of bills this president has signed, and they say, no, we're not talking about executive orders. I'm asking you about bills. Yeah, I'm talking about bills. And the American public will feel like their government's not working for them when the people who are giving them the news on those channels aren't even aware that Congress has passed any bills this president has done anything at all.
Well, we understand that, but we're also wondering how the two sides are going to get together and actually get real legislation done. Congressman, thank you. Thank you for your candor. Thanks for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Congressman Lee Zeldin.